Some paintings seem to hide such a deep enigma that they compel us to look at them over and over again. One of them is the famous Arnolfini Portrait, painted by Jan van Eyck in 1434. At first glance, it looks like a small and simple work, but the more you study it, the more hidden details begin to emerge. That's why many consider it the most mysterious painting in the history of art. For centuries, it was believed to depict a marriage or engagement. However, details such as the woman's dress, the little dog at the couple's feet, and the two mysterious figures reflected in the mirror have led experts to question whether we are truly looking at a wedding scene, and to propose fascinating theories that might forever change the way you see this painting. The first thing we need to understand is that we are in the 15th century in the city of Bruges, what we know today as Belgium. Before us stand two figures dressed in a display of wealth that leaves no doubt about their social status. The woman wears a green gown lined with squirrel fur, a garment that, according to scholars, may have required as many as 2,000 pelts to create. The man, meanwhile, is dressed in a velvet tabard trimmed with marten fur, another unmistakable marker of wealth and power. They stand hand in hand. The man raises his other hand in a solemn gesture as though making a vow of loyalty or marriage, and for centuries, most people believed that this is exactly what we were seeing, a wedding portrait. But in 1934, the influential art historian Erwin Panofsky proposed a far more intriguing interpretation. According to him, the painting was not only a depiction of a marriage, but also a legal record of the event itself. The key lies in a detail that can be easy to miss, a carefully painted inscription on the back wall. It reads, Johannes de Eyck fuit hic. In Latin, this means Jan van Eyck was here. Unlike the discrete signatures in some of his other works, here it appears boldly integrated into the scene, as though it truly belonged to the moment being depicted. For Panofsky, this unusual statement meant more than simply claiming authorship. Van Eyck was acting as a witness to the marriage. In this sense, the painting became something unique, a portrait and a legal document at the same time. If we follow Panofsky's interpretation, the idea that this painting serves as a legal record is reinforced by one crucial detail, the circular mirror just below the artist's signature. It's a convex mirror, framed by 10 tiny medallions depicting the Passion of Christ, from his arrest to the crucifixion. This isn't just decoration, it's a showcase of pure virtuosity. Van Eyck not only managed to capture reflections with almost microscopic precision, so fine that he may have used a single hairbrush, but he also filled this detail with rich symbolic meaning. In the mirror, we see the backs of the couple standing in the room. We can also make out the window, the chandelier, the wooden beams of the ceiling, and even the oranges on the windowsill, luxuries at the time, reserved only for the wealthy. But the most enigmatic detail appears near the doorway. Two additional figures, one dressed in blue and the other in red. According to Panofsky's logic, they are not just passers-by, but witnesses to the ceremony. One of them, he suggested, might even be Van Eyck himself, leaving behind evidence of his presence within the scene. But not all art historians accept Panofsky's interpretation. To begin with, he identified the couple as Giovanni di Arrigo Arnolfini and his wife Gianna Senami. Yet later research showed that Giovanni di Arrigo did not marry until 1447, 6 years after Jan van Eyck's death. This forced scholars to look elsewhere within the family. The most convincing candidate is Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, a cousin of Giovanni di Arrigo and a wealthy merchant from Lucca, Italy, who spent most of his life in Bruges. If this is indeed the case, then certain details in the painting take on a very different meaning. Take, for instance, the ornate bronze chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Van Eyck painted it with astonishing precision. Each curve seems to catch the light differently, as if every line were a deliberate display of his mastery. At first glance, it may appear to be just another symbol of luxury, but scholars have long noticed something unsettling. Only one candle is lit, despite it being daytime, and it is placed directly above the man's head. Panofsky read this as a wedding candle, symbolizing the omniscient wisdom of God presiding over the ceremony. Yet on the other side, above the woman, we see another candle, but this one has burned down and gone out. In the tradition of memento mori, extinguished candles often symbolize the passage of time and the fragility of life. This has led some scholars to suggest a darker possibility, that the woman may have already died while the man was still living. Under this interpretation, the painting would not be a wedding portrait at all, but rather a memorial portrait, a solemn tribute to a wife who had passed away too soon. Art historian Margaret Coster was the one who gave a decisive twist to this interpretation. In 2003, she dismissed Panofsky's theory as an improbable scenario and proposed an alternative much more consistent with the historical record. But before diving into her theory, let me remind you that this painting is already available in our catalogue. Over the past few months, we've built a collection of more than 700 carefully selected artworks. I'd love for you to take a look once you finish watching this video. There, you can purchase your favorite painting to hang in your home with free worldwide shipping, and by doing so, you'll also be supporting my work and helping me keep creating videos like this one. Thank you so much for your support. The link is in the description. Now then, let's continue. Archival records reveal that Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini's first wife, Costanza Trenta, died in 1433, just a year before the date inscribed in the painting, and all evidence suggests that she died in childbirth. Suddenly, many details of the painting begin to align with this possibility. Behind the woman, we see a finely carved wooden chair. At the top of its post is a small figure of a woman standing on a dragon. Costa identifies her as Saint Margaret, patron saint of pregnant women, celebrated in legend for being swallowed by a dragon and miraculously emerging unharmed. This brings us to the central controversy. Is the woman in the portrait actually pregnant? Costa insists that she is. Others, however, argue that the bulge of the dress is not a sign of pregnancy, but of fashion. Among the wealthy of the time, it was common to wear long gowns with heavy fabric gathered at the front. You can even see the same style in another Van Eyck painting, where the Virgin Mary wears a voluminous blue robe in the exact same way, though of course she is not meant to be pregnant, and since Arnolfini was a fabric merchant, the extravagant display of textiles on his wife would have doubled as a statement of his profession. Still, the commemorative hypothesis remains standing. If we accept this reading, then even the little dog at the couple's feet takes on a different meaning. Panofsky saw it as a symbol of marital fidelity, but in funerary tradition, dogs often appear in female effigies, not only as signs of love, but also as guardians meant to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. Even the mirror seems to reinforce the idea. The 10 medallions that frame it tell the story of Christ's passion, and they're not arranged randomly. On the left are scenes of Christ alive, on the right, scenes of his death. It's as if the couple reflects the same division, the man on the left standing for life, and the woman on the right bound to death. Reaching a definitive conclusion is not easy, and perhaps that is Van Eyck's true genius, his ability to weave profound symbols into a scene that, at first glance, seems so natural. Some historians see hidden messages in every object, others prefer caution and argue that no secret meanings exist at all. Either way, nothing diminishes the serene beauty of the painting, nor the technical mastery with which Van Eyck presents a scene that feels almost alive before our eyes. What is certain is that the mystery lives on, nearly 6 centuries later. I'd love to hear your interpretation in the comments. Which of these theories do you think fits the painting best?